Now, if you are a DPS main, then there are certain things that only you will understand that support and tank mains simply will not. Oh, it's so easy to be a DPS player, right? Well, maybe not so much, and here's the 13 reasons why. Now, the first thing, right off the bat, you're going to select a character in spawn. You just want to play your main, right? Well, you're going to get some complaints right off the bat. If you don't have any hit scans, someone's going to say, hey, can we get a hit scan? I think it comes a little bit due to FAR PTSD, but whatever. But if you have 2 hit scans, sometimes you'll randomly get, hey, let's not play 2 hit scans. What are you doing that for? Or the worst one of all, can we get X meta hero? Oh, hey, we need a Sojourn. Can we get a Tracer? Can we get this? Can we get that? People will tell you that they want a meta hero on their team, even if you're just like a random, I don't know, sim player. They'll still tell you to play meta heroes, even if it really just doesn't matter. And you're like, buddy, I'm in gold. Like, I'm not playing Sojourn. Now, honestly, those problems only happen once in a blue moon, but the real problems that happen in every game is when you lose a fight. And if they check your damage and you don't have a high enough damage threshold, or even worse, your Zen has higher damage than you, or your Moira has higher damage than you, you are getting flamed. Our DPS has no damage. I have more damage than our DPS. What are you doing? What are you shooting at? Are you blind? Where's your monitor at? Go get your eyes checked. I mean, come on. You could have literally like walked out of spawn and got headshotted by a Hanzo, or maybe like you got pushed by a tank, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you even made a mistake, but you only made one and it happened right off the bat. And yeah, now your team is flaming the hell out of you. And at this point, you just kind of gotta grit your teeth and walk back out there with the intent to pop off out of pure spite for your teammates. Now, the third thing for a DPS main is you are expected to be the counter swapper on your team. Oh, they got a monkey? Hey, can someone go Reaper? Oh, they got a Pharah? Oh, you need to go hit scan. Oh, they have a Doom or a Ball that's playing well. You better be going Sombra. It doesn't matter about your hero pool. You are expected to be the Swiss Army knife for your team, capable of dealing with any problem and swapping at their whim. Even if you have a tank that just locks Shrine 24/7, or if you have a support that is like, oh no, I'm only playing this support no matter what. But as a DPS, if you are a one trick or you're someone that's not very flexible, then you're a thrower and you should play what the team needs. It feels worse when your team are making a mistake and then they expect you to swap to deal with the character they're making a mistake against. Like, you have an Ana that's like running in the open, jumping in front of a Widow, gets headshot, and it's like, swap to counter Widow. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah, I think that that's a pretty recognizable experience for most DPS mains. Now, dying once is already bad enough, but if you ever die twice on the same character, and it doesn't really matter for what reason, you will be asked to swap off. And it's typically just someone that hasn't talked the entire game. They didn't say anything. They didn't say hi at the start. They haven't been positive. They have only spoke to tell you to swap off, or sometimes they type it. Now, this is really frustrating where, one, maybe you got a kill and then you died and it seems like your team just like can't see the good you did and only the bad, like only your death. They don't even give you props for what you pulled off. Or two, you feel like you died to something random, like you just got randomly spammed or killed by a Hanzo arrow or whatever, and you're like, what did I do wrong? Like, what could I have done there? I'm just getting flamed. Yeah, it's definitely a rough time. And honestly, most of the time, DPS players won't swap off. At least I know from my experience that I didn't. I didn't, especially if it's my main. I don't care if you flame me. I'm going to keep playing my character until I pop off with it. And if I die 2 times right off the bat, but then end the game like 30-2, you know, you might hear about it at the end of the game. Now, there's another type of player that you can get on your team that thinks that if they ping something, that you should just destroy it. Like, if the monkey jumps in and they ping it and it doesn't die, then you messed up. The Pharah peaks and it doesn't die, then you messed up. It's like everything they ping, they think that that's all they have to do. And then you as a DPS player should kill it. And they'll say stuff like, why is this person not dead? Or what are you shooting at? And, you know, they'll flame you. And you're just like, what the hell? Like, that person is literally in their team really far away with a pocket. What am I supposed to do? And I do think there's something a little bit unique about DPS players where if you get mirrored by someone that is on your main, let's say you're a Hanzo main and you're getting mirrored by a main, you can't swap. It doesn't matter how bad you play. It doesn't matter how many times you lose the fight. It just doesn't matter. You will either win eventually against that person or you will lose the game, and you're perfectly fine dying on that hill. I know, support mains, tank mains, y'all might be frustrated about this, but the thing you gotta understand is that a DPS player's ego is is they're everything. If we give in, if we give up, if we back down, then we might as well quit the freaking game. So we gotta win, okay? We have to win. So it doesn't matter if we're getting diffed. We will eventually play it until it's a logical conclusion, and if we can't beat them in our mains 1v1, then we don't deserve the win, and neither do you. I'm sorry, but down with the ship. That's just the way it is. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of DPS mains that really are too greedy for heals, but on the flip side, there are also times as a DPS player where you literally feel like your supports are intentionally ignoring you, like you are right in front of them, spamming I need heals, or maybe you're just standing there just trying to get their attention, maybe you're talking in the mic, and it feels like they want to heal every single person besides you, and you just gotta stand there and just wait, and you're just sitting at 10 HP like, oh, I guess I'll wait, I'll get my healing eventually. And so you're not doing anything, you're just kind of existing, you're hoping, you're praying, maybe you even run to a health pack, I don't even know. But if you just die to some random Mora orb flying around when you just sat there for 30 seconds, you might lose, you know, all the rest of your mind. So yeah. Now, there is also a fair amount of pressure when playing a DPS. As a DPS main, you realize that there's a lot on your shoulders. You feel like you can pop off and carry any game you're in, but it doesn't always work that way. And while when you do pop off and hard carry, you feel really freaking good, it can be really frustrating when you're in a game where you're popping off and then you die and your team is in like a 5v3 or 5v2 and you're like, oh my god, are they gonna win? I don't even think they're gonna win. And then they lose. Because you've been there. You've all been there. You know, it's like, I am the glue that's holding this team together. If I'm not there, I can't rely on anybody. And yeah, I think that's probably just an Overwatch experience, but you definitely feel it a lot as a DPS main. Now, I'll say the thing that is probably the most frustrating experience ever as a DPS player is dying to another DPS that is getting mercy pocketed. You hit them, they get healed. You hit them, they get healed. You hit them, they get healed. And then they hit you, and then you're weak, and you run to your support that is ignoring you, like I said before, and then you die. And then your team blames you, your team roasts you, or even worse, you get a kill on somebody, right? They get rezzed, and now they're being pocketed, and now you lose the matchup, even though you not only killed them, but did like freaking 300 plus damage to them that all got healed away. And it's just the most frustrating thing of all time. And then your team have the audacity to say, what are you doing? Stop throwing. DPS diff. You're just like slowly seething and losing your mind because this 2v1, perpetual 2v1 that you have to deal with is the most frustrating thing in the freaking world. But that might actually pale in comparison to when you go for a play that nearly works. Every DPS player has been there, where you're on a flank or you're on an off angle or whatever, and you almost cook and kill everybody. Everyone's low, everyone's weak, maybe you're popping off on Genji, you almost one-clip someone on Tracer, you're going for a big play, everyone's super low, low cooldowns, whatever, everyone's at a slither of health. If you got a little bit of help, you could have popped off and killed everybody, or if things went just slightly more your way, you could have popped off and killed everybody. But you don't, and you die, and then your team are flaming you. Like, what are you doing? Are you brain dead? And you're just like, no, I was so close. And yeah, that's definitely super frustrating. I think a lot of DPS players have been there, where you see the vision, you see the dream, you almost get it, and it just barely escapes your grasp. But it can be even more frustrating when you're going in for a play, you see someone out of position, you go and you kill them, and then you dash another person, or maybe you run another person and you go for more, and then you get that person low, and then you realize that your team is actually back in spawn. Maybe all four of them are back dealing with a Tracer or a Sombra, or maybe they're taxing somebody as all of them together, or they're all pushing the cart, and you die after you got a kill, got someone weak, and you vow to never push again because you never want this to happen. And another thing that can happen that is super frustrating is losing 1v1s to supports. I don't know why it happens as a DPS player, but you get into 1v1s with supports all the time. Kiriko, Lucio, pistoling Mercies, and honestly, these are sometimes some of the hardest duels to win. Like, a pistoling Mercy can be so frustrating. I don't even want to say how many times I've lost to a pistoling Mercy as freaking Hanzo. Like, I just can't predict that freaking movement at all. I just can't predict it. And it's even worse because a lot of times, for whatever reason, when you're like 1v1ing a Mercy, you have teams that are dead that are spectating you. I don't know why. And then they just start talking as you miss shots. They're like, oh, well, you're so bad. Oh, what are you doing? And they just start making fun of you. And the more they make fun of you, the more you miss. And then when you die to them, you are just like perpetual, oh, you're on the avoid list. And then the last, but certainly not least thing is the typing of DPS diff. if you ever lose a game, your team, unless a teammate like a tank or support did obviously terrible, like if they did completely terrible, then this probably won't happen. But if they just did mediocre or slightly better, you're always going to see DPS diff typed by your entire team. But regardless, let me know if there was anything I missed, and did you relate to any of the stuff in this video? If you did, smash the like, subscribe. But thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you next time.